Hello guys, this is MahTamato here, and we are in Unique Ores, version 1.7.0. Chicken! I'm just gonna say massive changes to the mod in this version, and I got a request for a mod showcase, so I thought that I would just update it to the current version, so that when I release it in a couple days, people would actually know what it was about. So, I'm just gonna get started over here. This is basically just a map the ore generation. I just put this down. This isn't actually the real thing, but this is about how often you're going to find the ores. First of all, I fixed the bug where the molybdenum and the rhodium, two hard names to say apparently, weren't actually generating, so that's fixed now. I actually got the rhodium to a certain rarity of my liking, so it's not too rare, but it's not too common either. So this is jasper. When you mine it, you get jasper. It's basically just a decoration block, if you didn't know it already. When you put it down, it looks transparent. It looks pretty cool, in my opinion, if you use it in the right way. Also, there's this thing called meteoric iron. You can actually smelt it into regular iron in the furnace, but you can use it to make nickel in the grinder and stuff. We'll get into that later. Cobalt, basically, you can make tools. Molybdenum, you can do some pretty interesting stuff with it. Platinum, used for the machines, and rhodium's also used for the machines. Now this is molybdenum and rhenium. These are only found on the floor of the ocean, which is why, obviously, they're sand blocks. They actually have physics. They fall like sand, and so does the rhenium. For some reason that happened. That wasn't supposed to happen, but they fall like that, you'll notice, as you can probably tell. When you smelt these, basically, okay, the way that the ores work in this mod is it's kind of different. When you mine them, you actually get this ore right here, and this basically allows you to take advantage of fortune on these ores, except for the meteoric iron. Messing up on a lot of words today for some reason. For some reason, I decided to not make it work on that one. I don't really know why, but, you know, just because iron, typically not fortune ready. Which is basically why this rhodium and platinum are so rare, even though they're used to make the machines, because you can take a huge advantage of using fortune on them. So, the machines are the most important thing in the entire mod. They are the giant thing that all of these ores circle around. But before I get to them, if you are a follower of the original version of this mod, when I go over here, you'll notice, oh my gosh, no more rhodium platinum tools. Yeah, I took the rhodium platinum tools out because of the fact the platinum and rhodium are both so rare. They're not like, rhodium is actually rarer than diamond, but platinum is just a smidge bit rarer than emerald. It appears quite a little bit in caves. So I just felt that making tools for these would be too overpowered because, you know, it just seems a little bit odd to have something that's so close in strength to diamond when that's already pretty good. So I just took the tools out and made you have to use it a lot more for the machines. So, first of all, before I go over the crafting things, I'm going to go over what the machines actually do. So, this was originally the power furnace, but I renamed it to the industrial furnace. As you can see, it actually says industrial furnace up there now. And it's basically, this thing can be used to either smelt special ores that can't be smelted in a normal furnace, or when you put like iron ore or gold ore in here or something, it actually smelts it into 2 ingots instead of 1. Pretty cheap, but it actually requires 3 coal per thing instead of 1. You could put like any type of coal in it, block of coal, something like that. Not wood and stuff like that, though. You can't use wood and stuff in there, though. I don't think you can use charcoal either. I don't remember putting that in, so you can't use charcoal on that either. This is the grinder. This basically grinds stuff into all of this powder, which I'll explain later, too, along with it. So this is pretty important. It uses, all of these things use coal as their primary source. This is the blast furnace. This is that ridiculously hard-to-get machine that is really cheap, but this can smelt certain things, like this industrial furnace can. The things that they, too, can smelt commonly only give you 1, but the things like, you know, iron ore, gold ore, normal ores that you can smelt in the furnace, it gives you 3 of. Now, do mind that it takes 5 coal for 1 smelting, and it takes quite a bit to smelt, but when it's all done, you'll get 3 instead of 1 from that. So that's pretty good machine. It's just kind of difficult to get. Kind of difficult. Oh my gosh, it's way more than kind of difficult. But you'll also see that I took out the separate casing items, because it wouldn't really make much sense if I had casing over casing with casing on top of it, so took that out. You can also see that there are only 2 meshes left out of the 4. So basically, you need the golden mesh for the grinder. I probably should have set this on game rule do not do daylight cycle, because I'm going to have to keep doing that if I don't do that, but I'm too lazy to do it, too lazy. You need this for the grinder, because obviously it's respective thing. It's gold. This you actually need for the blast furnace, which is the thing matted emerald. This is a rhodium mesh. Not really much else to explain of this, except for that these are gold ingots and these are molybdenum ingots. Just keep that in mind. You can't actually see the names. I probably should have renamed them and put them in item frames, but whatever. This is also rhodium ingots and platinum ingots make this rhodium mesh. Now, this is one of the new multi-block machine parts. This is the heating core. Now, these textures are kind of experimental, so if they look crappy, don't blame me, because they're experimental, even though I made them, but whatever. This is the heating core. These are, once again, molybdenum ingots. This is obsidian. There's a fire charge in the middle. Not much in this recipe from my mod, but it's a core block for the actual thing. This is the grinder blaze. I just noticed that you might be able to hear my keyboard a lot, but whatever. This is meteoric iron block, surrounded by 4 meteoric iron ingots, surrounded by 4 flint. This will give you one of that. Every single one of these recipes will give you one of the crafting recipe thing yet. However, this one will give you 2. This is the iron casing that is used for the industrial furnace. All these names I have to keep in my head. It's getting complicated. This is a cobalt block. Basically, just craft the blocks in the mod like you would of anything. Basically, just put 9 ingots in a crafting table or something like that, and you'll get the blocks. So there's a block of cobalt with 2 blocks of iron, and then iron ingots surrounded by it, and it'll give you 2 of this. So you need 4 batches of this to make enough machine casing for the industrial furnace. And the actual industrial furnace piece itself, which is this thing right here, you actually need... Okay, more meteoric iron. 2 blocks of meteoric iron, 4 meteoric iron ingots, 2 iron blocks, something you need from the nether, a quartz block. So basically the fire charges in the quartz block require you to be able to go to the nether before you make this. So that's good. That's good for not cheap ability, because this mod used to be really cheap because it was... You were able to make these machines way too easily, basically. But you see... this texture right here is also a little bit off. I'm going to change that before I release it in a couple of days, probably. But it takes quite a bit. I think it takes, like... This furnace is actually quite fast compared to the other one, because it's not as cheap. Not nearly as cheap as the other one. But as you can see, when I smelt iron blocks in this, it gives me 2 iron ingots and quite a bit more experience than a normal furnace would. So, that's the industrial furnace. This right here is the grinder, and I have this back here for a certain reason. The grinder is one of the more complicated things to explain because of how many different things you can do with it. So, there's this golden casing. You need actually a platinum ingot for this. Each of this recipe will give you 5, and you need 16 for this, so devious, you'll have 1 left over, or 5, no. You'll only need 1 for 1 crafting recipe, so you'll have 4 left over that you'll have, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with these? So yeah, put that in on purpose, by the way. You need 2 gold blocks, 6 golden ingots, a platinum ingot in the middle, and it'll give you 5 of that. For the actual grinder itself, you need 4 golden meshes explained over there. You need 2 golden blocks, 2 platinum blocks, and a grinder blades, to be exact. And it'll give you this. And then you just put it on top, and it works. So basically the interior of both of these, let me just break this. There is actually a heating core in the middle of this surrounded by 8 blocks. So you just build it, I don't know what the heck that weird thing my throat did was right there, but you just build it like this, and you take an industrial furnace, you put the heating core in the middle, 8 things around it, you put the industrial furnace right in the middle. That's how you do it. For this one, it's a smidge bit more complicated. You basically put 2 grinder blades here, surround them by golden casing, and then once you're finished with that, you just put the grinder right on top. Now, just to show you that you can't actually access the grinder or the industrial furnace when you're not in them, you can't. The GUI doesn't pop up. So yeah, not cheating here, not being like, oh, you have to do this even though it's not required. You do have to have the multi-block structure. Oh, and by the way, you can't have anything else here. These things right here have to be air blocks, or else it won't open. So that's something to note. Okay, so the grinder is going to be really complicated to explain, more complicated than I would like to. I don't know where the heck the coal blocks for that went, but whatever. Basically what you need for this is, let me just take some gold ore, and let me take some coal. I think this requires about the same coal as that. I think it just takes a smidge bit longer. So you put coal in here, and then you put gold ore in there. And let it does this. I'm also going to change the location of this texture, because honestly, these GUIs look kind of crappy. So this thing goes, and it's going. Yeah, it does take a little bit longer than the other furnace, even though you still use about, I think, 2.5 coal for it. Yeah, 2.5 coal. And it grinds it into, if this would actually comply with my decisions, 10 small piles of gold powder. Now, that might seem a little bit cheap, but you have to craft the small piles of gold powder. You might realize this is kind of a little tiny bit of correlation to industrial craft, but you put these 4 small piles and you get 1 big pile. So, actually, that's not industrial craft, that's Greg Tech, whatever. Big pile of gold powder is basically, you can put them in any furnace. I'm not sure if it works with a regular furnace. I don't think it does. I programmed a lot of this a long time ago, if you can't tell. So it doesn't work with a regular furnace, but if you put it in the industrial furnace, as you can see, it actually starts smelting. So you can effectively multiply the amount of golden ingots that you get, or iron ingots, or I think this works with cobalt too, ingots by 2.5 when you put them in there, because the grinder coupled with the industrial furnace gets you 2.5 the amount of dust and ingots that you would be able to. As you can see, that smelted. That wasn't supposed to happen. That's a bug. This is just purely bug testing. It wasn't supposed to give you 2, but that's just a little bit of code that I forgot to remove. That's easy to fix. So basically, you can multiply the amount of gold and iron that you get from this by 2.5 if you put it in there. So this other thing behind this is basically just something for multiplying ender pearls to make it easier for you to get to the end. This is molybdenum ingots. And this is ender powder. It gives you 8 ender powder if you put an ender pearl in this. And you can mix it with these molybdenum ingots and you get an ender pearl. So basically it takes 10 to multiply 10 molybdenum ingots and a grinder to multiply 1 ender pearl into 2. So that's just a little bit of a useful thing that you can use to get to the ender dragon. Whew, this is a lot to explain. So basically there's also a little thing where, because I said that rhodium was so rare over there, you can get rhodium. So I'm just going to break this. And you can actually get rhodium from putting platinum ingots and coal in here by basically, I'm not going to wait this long because that's probably going to take about 15 seconds, but you can put a platinum ingot in here, and when it finishes grinding, if it will finish grinding, the chair squeaking, all these keyboard noises are probably being picked up by my mic, and I don't exactly like that, but when this finishes here in about probably 2 seconds, on Mississippi to Mississippi, it actually gives you a small pile of rhodium powder. And you can mix 4 of these, obviously, to get a big pile of rhodium powder, which then you can smelt in the industrial furnace to give you a rhodium ingot. So yeah, that's an easier way to get all of this rhodium that you'll need for this. So, this is the cheapest machine in the mod, called the Blast Furnace. This thing you need a lot of emeralds for, so you'll either need to make a villager farm, or find an extreme hills biome, or something like that to make this. So, for the machine casing, I've been saying so a lot. This gives you actually 6, because you need so much machine casing for this. You need 4 emeralds, a block of emeralds, which adds up to 13 emeralds per batch, and then 4 rhodium ingots. Yeah, a lot of stuff for this, but that's good, because this thing this will get you iron and gold beyond your beliefs. So, the actual blast furnace itself requires 2 of those rhodium meshes explained over there, and then it requires a heating core in the middle, 2 rhodium ingots, and then 4 emeralds around it. So, I'm going to take this block of coal, even though I have some in my inventory already. And before I do that, though, I'm going to show you the structure of how this thing is built. So, basically, you just take these, you take your emerald casing, you put 9 on the bottom, you put the furnace, you put the heating core right there, put the grinder blades right here, because this needs grinder blades and a heating core. It's like a combination of the two. You put the blast furnace right there, and then you put the emerald casing over here on the top of it, so it's 9 on the bottom, 9 on the top, and all that random crap in the middle, and then you can access it. If 1 block is missing, you cannot access it. So, what you can do with this is it takes a very long time to smelt stuff in this, as you can probably see. Like, I'm waiting 1. So, it takes quite a bit. I've said so how many freaking times. It takes quite a while for stuff to smelt in this thing, and it also takes quite a bit of coal, just because these are blocks of coal. It's taking it a lot longer to go down, but You get 3 ingots per gold or iron in here, which is pretty cheap if you ask me. But it does take a bit of resources to make this thing. Like, oh my gosh, you'll spend forever trying to make this. Another thing. Basically, I'm pretty sure that I completely forgot what I was about to say. Wow, that was embarrassing. Anyway, that is pretty much all for the machines in this mod. I have to time set 0 again. That's all for the machines in this mod. Now, some other things I would like to address is the tools, obviously, and the armor are just made like, oh my gosh, how do you make these? Well, you're a noob. You basically just put cobalt ingots and rhodium ingots. Well, there is no rhodium armor anymore. So, exclude that last bit of knowledge, but basically, you just put cobalt ingots and platinum ingots and stuff like that. There is no platinum armor. Cobalt ingots, Furnico ingots. That's something else I need to explain. The Furnico and stuff. Ah, yes, the Furnico and stuff. I need to explain that. So, you just put cobalt ingots in, like, crafting table. Makes leggings. You just put this stuff in a crafting table. Makes chestplate. So, I am going to explain a little bit about the alloys, and this is where the grinder part starts to get really complex. It starts to get really complicated, complex and complicated together. So, this powder stuff. You might notice that there are some powders in here that aren't actually ores, and that is the nickel, the ultimate, and the furnico. Now, ultimate, that is not a typo, that is how the actual ingot is spelled. So, that's how that ingot's spelled, not ultimate. Alright. The nickel powder you basically get from small piles of nickel powder, which you get from big piles of nickel powder. But you may be asking, what? For some reason, NEI doesn't recognize my grinder and stuff. But basically, wow, that was a lot of stuff that popped out of there. Along with some small piles of rhodium powder. Yep. You basically just... Okay. Meteoric iron ingots. Once you smelt it, you put it in here, and then you grind it. Or not. I think it's actually the ore. Excuse me for this. I have not done this in a really long time. Yeah, I think it's because there is no dust. So basically, you put the meteoric iron ore in here, and then when it's finished grinding, I'm not going to wait for this entire thing, but it gives you the nickel dust, and I believe it gives you 6 of it. So basically, you can mix the nickel powder, make a big one, and then smelt it in the furnaces. Basically, the same thing for everything else. But I'm going to have to break this again. Doing quite a bit of breaking here. And, okay. So, let me go back to the powder. The ultimate powder. Small pile of ultimate powder. So many mistakes in my speaking. I have no idea why. You need a big pile of iron powder, a big pile of molybdenum powder, a big pile of nickel powder, and a small pile of... I should just stop talking. A small pile of cobalt powder to make this. And you need 4 of these, obviously, to make a big one. So this is quite expensive. This is another reason why I removed the platinum and the rhodium tools, because there really was no reason to do any of this if you could just have overpowered tools like that instantly. So, you just mix it like that, and then you get some dust, and then you smelt it in some of the blast furnace or the industrial furnace. Lastly, I believe, is the Furnico. Wait, after that we have reinforced gold. That's a little bit different. But after that we have Furnico. Furnico is quite a lot easier to make. You just need cobalt and iron, and then it gives you a small pile of Furnico powder. You should know what to do with that. Just mix 4 and then smelt it. Now, reinforced gold, obviously because gold is so stupid in Minecraft and it has no use, I felt like adding this in. Basically, to make 1 small pile of it, you need a big pile of gold powder, 2 small piles of nickel powder, and a big pile of iron powder to make this. So, quite a little bit more expensive than you would think for this, but it is pretty useful. Now, you can find all of the tool lengths and usages, stuff like that, on the actual forum of this mod, on the tools and the armor descriptions and stuff like that. So if you want to see those, I don't have them memorized, obviously, but you can go over to the forum and look at those. But yeah, this is a giant update, which is the reason why I'm making this along with the request that I got for it. So, yeah, just... when this comes out, you'll probably have to undergo a lot of changes. I realize that if you're in a world already and you have this, it'll break a lot of things like you have. It'll break all the tools that you have. It'll break all the casings. It'll even change these to different blocks. So I recommend either starting over or doing something different for this, because the rhodium generation, the platinum generation, and the rhenium generation have actually been changed. So lots and lots and lots of changes. That's why I wasn't actually planning to release this before 1.7, but Minecraft Coder Pack, which is the thing that I use to program it, obviously is making it clear it's not going to update anytime soon. Watch it update tomorrow because I said that, but yeah, so this will be released within the next couple days. Probably will be released by the time you see this already. So, this is MahTamato signing out.